Hello friends, my name is Money Knits, and today I'm going to be wrapping up my 2016 goals and talking about what's coming up in 2017. My goals in 2016 were the following: to read 72 books in a year, to read less YA, to use the public library more and buy less books, to read unread books on my shelf, 1 to 2 review videos per month, 4 video collabs for the year, post regularly, and vlog more. Let's go through those one by one. Number 1 was to read 72 books in a year, and probably by the time you're seeing this video, I will have accomplished that. I am sitting right now like a day before the end of the year at 70 books, but I am more than 70% through 2 remaining books, so I know confidently that I will reach 72 books. This is the year that I've read the least amount since I started tracking my reading on Goodreads, I believe. I have always kind of set around 72 but surpassed that, usually around 80, and this year I'm like squeaking into 72. I don't want to get too down on myself for the lesser amount that I read this year because 1, I met my goal. I set a goal, I met it, that's great, and 2, because it was a crazy busy year. It was just, it's over. My second goal was to read less YA, and I believe last year I read about half my books in YA. I think maybe a little less than half, about 40 to 50% were YA, and I just realized that I was getting burnt out. I wasn't finding a lot of quality things, and it was kind of reading a handful of bad ones to find like the one standout, and I just was at a place where I wanted to mix up my reading and read less YA. Of the 72 books that I read, 18 were YA, so 25%. I definitely lowered it from where it was last year, and I'm very happy with where it is and how my reading breakdown turned out overall. Number 3 was to use the public library less and buy more books, and I'm already like laughing at myself because I'm going to say that I failed hardcore at this goal. I also set up like really wishy-washy goals, with the exception of 72 books. All of them were like do something more or less without hard numbers to it, and I did that purposefully because I wasn't in a very strong goal setting mood last year. I just wanted some kind of guidelines to direct my reading in what I knew would be a very tricky year. So I just said use the library more and buy less books. And I will say that I did use my library plenty. I'm still at a point where I check out more than I consume. It's like, you know, going to the supermarket hungry, basically, and you just like, you take all this stuff. That's how it is with me in the library. Anytime I'm watching a video and somebody's like, this book was great, I was like, ooh, does my library have it? And I would check it out and put it on my overdrive. So I'm using my library plenty. I'm not sure that I'm using it efficiently or effectively. And that said, I spent a large ton of money on books last year. It was the first year that I tracked it, so you'd think that tracking it would slow me down, but no. And the problem there again is that I would just go on Amazon and one-click things for my Kindle, and then when I would come and like put it into my tracking, I'd be like, oh, like $3.99, $5.99, $9.99 adds up when you're doing all of this one-click buying. I did a quick little Twitter poll of like, you know, a range. Do you spend like $10 to $100 or like 101 to 500 or 500, you know, whatever it was. And then the last one was like 1,000 plus. And basically everybody was in like the $100 to $500 range. I just spent a lot of money on books last year, and that's a fail on that goal. The next goal was to read my unread books on my shelf, and this is also a fail. I have such a hard time reading physical books. Now I read so much more on my Kindle, and it's difficult for me, especially because I had so much less reading time in 2016. I was reading a lot of things either in bed, before bed, like lights out, or like in between things, and my Kindle was just so much more convenient for that kind of reading. I didn't read a lot of physical books like at all throughout the year, so reading the unread physical books that I have just was not a priority for me like I thought it would have been or should have been. My next goal was to review at least one book per month for a total of 12, and I did 6 review videos last year, so half of my intended goal, so that is also a partial fail. This is not counting the little mini wrap-ups that I do, which I'm not sure if they should count because I feel like I put so much more into those mini wrap-ups than when I was doing monthly wrap-ups because I had to get through so much so quickly. I do essentially full little reviews on every book that I read up to the middle half of the year. After that, I really fell off pace, but I did review a lot of books. But as far as single standalone review videos, I did 6, and that is definitely something that I want to up in the next year. My next goal was to make 4 of those big video collabs that I do, 1 per quarter, and I ended up making 5 overall, so I surpassed that goal. My next goal was to post more regularly with a schedule of 1 video every 3 days. It didn't happen. I posted 42 videos last year, which I think is great. You know, that works out to a little less than 1 per week, but I was talking about 1 every 3 days, and I really thought I had it in the bag at the beginning of the year. But it's not only that I posted less videos than I wanted to, my posting schedule was all over the place, and I think that it came to some point in 2016 where I gave myself permission to make videos as I could. Putting pressure on myself to, record and to edit and to, be so rigid was putting a lot of stress on me, and I would go and not record for a long time because I felt that stress. So I gave myself permission, and this is the way that I figured that I would be able to actually make material, was to give myself permission to do it when I could. Of course, regularity is a thing that I'm always going to strive for. I want you guys to be able to depend on my content and on this channel, but I also think that if you're in the same boat and you don't know how to fit making content into your schedule, the best thing that you can do is to give yourself the ability to make it as you can and to publish when you can, and to do these things as they fit into your schedule and as they give you pleasure and don't add to your stress or mess with your mental health or do anything like that. My final goal is another fail, and that was to record more vlogs. I have so much unpublished footage from my travels and things like that, and I also I started a bunch of times that through readathons or weekends, I was just I'm gonna vlog my reading, and I have all of these hey guys, it's Money on my phone where I start the process. And I don't know what it is about vlogging that makes me super self-conscious, and I'm still not able to do it, and I just didn't do a good job of that at all. Talking in public and remembering to capture certain things, or I don't know, it just is not I'm not very good at it. Some of these goals are going to kind of continue in 2017 in a general mindset of, things that I keep in mind regularly that I do without it having to be a goal. So reading diversely is not necessarily a goal for me. It's just something that I do, and I do regularly, and that I'm mindful of every time I pick up a book or set up a TBR. So that's not something you're gonna see necessarily on my goal list, but it's just part of my habits. Reading less YA is going to be the same now. I've just changed the way that I pick up books and what I reach for, so I don't necessarily have to make it a goal, but I want to keep up with this breakdown where, 25% of my reading is YA, and the rest is broken up between adult fiction, graphic novels, and things of that nature. I'm going to continue making video collabs in the next year, and I know now that I can. They are a lot of work, but I can churn out about 4 or 5 per year, and I've now for 2 years running, not always, but for 2 years running, have done the favorites and least favorites collab. So that's something that I'll do again next year. So again, this has become more of a habit than something that I need to focus on making my goal in the next year. So for actual 2017 goals, I'm going to set the bar again at 72 books in a year. I explained this last year, and I think it is a very good way for me to think about it. But the reason that I set a reading goal, I know a lot of people are setting at 0 or at 1 because they don't want the pressure of the reading goal. To me, I think 100% I am of the mind that we have a lot of time that we can do things with, and that we make time for the things that we give priority. And that's not to say that if you don't do something that I do that, you're misusing your time, but we just give our priorities the time. We allotted time for what we have. After working more than full time and, taking full-time classes, I really learned a lot about time management. So for me, a reading goal is really about making sure that I am carving out enough time for reading, that I'm giving reading the priority that I want to give it. If I'm falling behind a certain amount of books read, I feel like I know that I'm not giving reading the time that I want to give it, where I feel comfortable with it. And that is 52 books a year. If I'm reading a book a week on pace, that is the place where I feel like I've carved out enough time for reading. That is the very bottom where I will feel satisfied for me personally about my own reading. 72 books per year is like the next tier of what I know I can accomplish comfortably and what I've been able to accomplish comfortably without any major kind of changes in my life. So 52 is the bottom, 72 is the middle, and then 100 is like the stretch goal. I've never been able to read 100 books in a year, and I'm not sure that it would be a comfortable pace for me at all. It might be the place where I'm like, okay, now I'm reading too much, but I always kind of strive for that stretch goal. I think it's good to have stretch goals and to challenge yourself, and even if you fall short or a little short of that, it's still good to say that, you put in the extra effort. So my goal is always in those three tiers, but 72 is what I set my Goodreads at, and that's what I'm going to strive for. Next, I set up a challenge for myself to read from 2 genres that I don't normally. I really value reading widely and reading diversely, so I picked 2 places where I haven't focused any of my reading, and I'm going to make it a project to kind of document my way through them and pick up recommendations and try it out, and they are manga and romance. So you guys will get to see my experiencing those 2 in 2017. I also am doing a booktuber recommends project. I've seen a lot of different people try this, and it's basically that you collect recommendations from other booktubers and then you read them throughout the year. So I did collect 12 recommendations, and you guys will see from who and what they picked throughout the year as I read and review these. Also, I'm going to go ahead and set up that goal of making more review videos, standalone review videos in general. I would like to do 1 per month. Realistically, 1 per month is kind of where I am, but I mean, like 20 in a year was the first number that came to my head, and then I had to be like, whoa girl, you made 6 last year, like be real. I'm gonna recycle 2 goals from last year, being a little more specific as well. One is to restrict my book buying for sure, and I've started with a like first level goal here of not buying any new books in the first quarter of the year. I have an accountability partner and everything. Max is we're holding each other accountable here, and he's not buying books till his birthday, and I just decided that Q1 I was not going to buy any books. That's going to be where I start, and from there we'll see how I manage my book buying, but I really want to be specific about not spending so much money on books. And my read my own books, read your own damn books is a hashtag that I know that people participate in every year, and I kind of want to set more specific goals about that. I think I'm gonna pick like maybe a book or 2 a month from my own shelves to put in my TBR, and then I kind of want to end the year at like maybe 30 unread books on my shelves. And if at the end of the year I haven't read it, I haven't made an attempt to read it, I'm not interested in reading it, then it's gonna get donated and just moved off, and I have 30 books on my shelf that maybe I haven't read but that I actually have interest in reading. So I'm not just taking up precious space with things that I don't like and don't want to read. I think that's it for 2017 goals. I'm sure, like I said last year, that as soon as I finish doing this, editing it and publishing it, I'll think of like 37 more things that I wanted to say, but it's always best for me to keep my goals simple, and this is where I'm going to start. I want to thank you guys for being so patient with me in 2016 and through all of the craziness, and like I said, I wasn't as consistent as I wanted to be, but I was putting out content as I could, and you guys were always so great about backing it up when it did appear, so thank you very much. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys soon. Post regularly, and